Hey everyone, thanks for joining in yet again to one more entry in our American Lock series. This is a follow-up to the usage of the bypass driver in a previous video, which was also then talking about the usage of the wafer breakers in a previous video. Those of you may recall, these little blocking elements on the rear side of the tail here, right? The security wafers, you can knock a hole right through them with the Peterson bypass breaker set. Go on in, use your regular bypass tool. So one thing that people did mention in the comments when I said, well, you can install these wafers and blah, blah, blah. They said, oh, remember, Bosnian Bill did a video where he put 2 wafers in and it was harder to break through. It seemed to defeat the defeat. You want to try that? And I said, hell yeah, let's try that. I've got these broken pieces. I've got one more wafer, but I went out and I sourced a highly non-zero number of these. So if we think that Bill got through 2 of them, or he didn't get through 2 of them, I might just jump right on to 3 or 4, or we'll see what's going on here. But for now, let's talk about installing the wafer. I mean, a lot of you have seen this already, but these little blocking wafers, these little security rear side shields, right? They would normally drop right on the plug like this, covering up the back side of that keyway so that nothing can punch through, poke through, etc. If we're trying 1, let's start with 2. I'm pretty confident that with enough elbow grease and chooch factor, we can get through 2 of them. But you never know. Maybe we'll just be dead stopped and 2's all you've got to do. Let's just see here. If I very cautiously drop that back in there, no problems with that. Get our bottom plate back on. Is this an original? Oh, this is not an original American bottom plate. This is vulnerable to a different kind of attack, I'd wager, and we could talk about that in a future video. Okay, nothing wrong with the lock here. And of course, if it were locked, we were to try to knock this down, I can just tell by looking, I cannot get far enough into the lock to use the bypass tool. So what would we do? Well, we would come along with our spike. We'd go in one side here, give it some hits. Let's just see. Let's see, can we kind of drop down? We can tell pretty quickly if we're getting through the plate, right? We'll see this little standoff distance get closed up and touch right down onto the surface there. So start the way we normally do with a bump hammer. We have some other tools on hand over here if that's not going to work. I mean, that sure seems like it's going in somewhere. All right, well, there was no problem at all punching through this far. Maybe it's not the punch that's a problem, it's the spread action that's a problem. But let's make our other hit. So remember, that does grab on there a little bit more, doesn't she? So we were in the bottom of the keyway this way. Now we're going to turn sideways with the spike kind of up on the corner here. Let's try this one. Definitely going. Maybe a hair more resistance, but I mean that still seems to drop in where it's desired. How about the spreader tool? Is that what's going to cause us the trouble? All right, it fits in where it should go. Oh, that went right in. I mean, almost no trouble at all. That seems to be exactly where you'd want it. So 2 steps down, maybe it's just that this tool can't drop into where it's supposed to go. Now, granted, just sort of palming it in feels a little bit iffy. But if we take our bump hammer again, that feels like it went in further. I'm turning. Ooh, something. So I am turning. But I think the shreds of metal of what we knocked apart are kind of binding up. Maybe that's part of our key problem. So this wants to go. Yeah. What are we doing here? Interesting. I'm on something. Ooh, okay, so the head is almost deflecting over a little bit. That's not great. We don't want to see that. It is still aligned, though. Hey, Editing Div here. I don't need to show you a lot of this upcoming footage. I shot it. You can see it's all there in the timeline, but I'm going to scrub through it pretty rapidly. What's the TLDR? Could not get through much. I could punch through the metal wafers, but the debris left behind seems to bind up and jam up and not give enough clearance to easily swing the head of the tool around, allowing the actuator cam to properly turn. You'll see I kind of wreck through and rip through a couple of my bypass drivers. They twist and bend on the shaft. The head starts getting cocked over. Am I saying this is not going to work at all? No, not quite saying that. But I am saying there's definitely truth to the rumor that if you add 2, maybe 3, but honestly even just 2 of those blocking wafers, you're seriously hindering the process, especially if somebody's not expecting to encounter them. Add that to the fact that many mountings and installs of American locks that I've seen in the field can be recessed or shrouded in some way. Have a look at this sort of national park barrier that, it's an American lock, but you're not going to get up in there with striking tools and bypass tools very easily. It is possible to do a very robust install with an American lock, even a simple 1100 style American lock, and prevent many of the bypass attacks we're seeing. Like the product line, weaknesses that may exist, yes, there's mitigations, and the multiple wafer stack for the blocking element appears to be one of them. So, much like we saw before, yeah, these are hitting a wall and they're kinking over. These are pretty shot. Now, could you make a Peterson turner out of super hard material and try to bust through? Maybe. I'm going to say we're just about at the point where this is now where I would hand it over to other people. In fact, I won't do, it's not really a giveaway. We're giving away pennies here. But if anybody out there is really interested, if you show me, you can say, hey, look, I've made my own tool. I've made a copy, a sort of a clone of this design, but I did it with really hardened metal, or I reinforced it, or it's square stock. I don't know. If you want to try that, you show me something you've actually made, and you say, I want to try this test again, write to me. I will literally send you a stack of these wafers, and you can pack them in there till your heart's content and try to see if you can punch through 2 of them, 3 of them, more of them. To satisfy anyone's curiosity as we're wrapping things up here, how did this look in the end? Oof. We've been... Interesting. Yeah, you can't really see down there, but boy, we have knocked the socks off of this one. Interesting. So if you can imagine, normally what we're trying to do is punch through, come around the other side, and turn over here. So we're digging through all of this crud and crap. But man, I really think that there's got to be, you can see these discs are actually misshapen and warped. Man, I think this is a punching through problem. I think either an evolution of the punch tools or an evolution of the turner tool, the actual bypass driver, might still have a shot. So I think in the meantime, that's our conclusion. Yes, you can still knock through things, but off-the-shelf tools, off-the-shelf punches and bypass drivers don't seem to defeat off-the-shelf wafers. If you add not 1 of them, but 2 of them. All right. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope you learned something. Stay safe out there.